Can a single improvement package change the fate of a championship? What secrets hide Ferrari, Red Bull, and Mercedes in their new updates? I explain everything now. Ferrari arrives in Imola, his spiritual house, with a clear objective: to leave behind a seasonal start of frustrations and hit on the table with a deeply worked update package. It is not a simple superficial retouching, but a meticulous redesign that touches fundamental areas of the SF25, focused not on reinventing the concept, but on optimizing it to recover the lost time in front of McLaren and Red Bull. The premise is clear: solve critical problems without compromising the original car philosophy. The most transcendental update resides in the new soil, which has been developed to maximize aerodynamic load even under conditions where the car cannot run so close to the asphalt. This technical decision is essential because so far the performance of the SF25 depended on very aggressive height configurations, which caused premature plate of the plate and disqualification risks, as recently happened with Hamilton in China. With the new soil, Ferrari seeks to maintain performance without having to compromise the durability of the car or risk technical sanctions. The redesign is designed to stabilize the car both in lines and in fast curves, one of its most obvious weak points. But the improvements do not end there. The back of the body has also been significantly modified. It has worked especially to improve the evacuation of the airflow that crosses the bottom of the car, a critical area for aerodynamic efficiency. This redesign is aimed at increasing the stability of the rear train, a recurring weakness in the first major awards of the year, and that compromised traction in the curve output, especially in low adhesion paths. In parallel, the pontoons have been completely redesigned, adopting a thinner and more aggressive philosophy. Ferrari has been inspired by the profiles that Red Bull and McLaren have already developed successfully, seeking a double advantage: reducing the resistance to advance and at the same time channel the air towards the rear diffuser and the beam wing. This change not only provides straight line, but also improves the general efficiency of the aerodynamic flow of the car, reducing the unwanted load that until now penalized the peak speed of the SF25. Ferrari has also modified internal brake drums. This part, often ignored by fans, is key to managing both cooling and airflow surrounding the tires. In this case, Ferrari has adopted similar solutions to those of McLaren, a team that has demonstrated excellent aerodynamic control in that area. With these new drums, the Scuderia hopes to achieve better thermal management and a more stable distribution of air, with collateral benefits on the wear of the tires and the balance of the car in prolonged braking. One of the most sensitive areas of technical scrutiny this year is the front wing. Ferrari has updated it with a design that meets the new standards that the FIA will enter the Spain Grand Prix. These new standards will reduce the permitted flexibility from 15 mm to 10 mm. Ferrari has anticipated these regulations not only to adapt, but also with the expectation that other teams such as McLaren or Mercedes, which could be taking advantage of flexible elements to the limit of legality, are affected. This spoiler update represents both a technical advantage and a strategic political play in the eternal battle of the regulation. This whole package has been validated in wind and simulator tunnel. Ferrari states that the benefits detected are not marginal, but represent a tangible step forward. Both Leclerc and Hamilton have shown renewed confidence in the latest statements, knowing that Imola can be the turning point. If the improvements work as in the simulated environment, we could see Ferrari not only return to the podium regularly, but to compete from U to U with McLaren in the coming weeks. Red Bull arrives in Imola with a completely different scenario from the one who was accustomed in recent years. What was once synonymous with technical stability and absolute hegemony, today is going through an internal storm of proportions little seen from the hybrid era. The fall of the RB21 in the first races has not only surprised the paddock, but has ignited all the alarms within the Milton Keynes team. The car, far from being a dominant evolution of RB20, has shown unexpected fragility both in curve behavior and in operational terms. And the most alarming, problems are not easy to solve. At the aerodynamic level, the RB21 maintains a remarkable performance in lines, where the car remains one of the fastest thanks to its low resistance and the traditional millimeter control of airflow. However, in areas of medium and slow curves, the car has revealed a noticeable instability, especially in the front axle. The irregular wear of the tires, together with an erratic behavior in combined braking, has made pilots like Max Verstappen have to compensate with their piloting what was previously assured by the natural performance of the car. In an attempt to reverse this trend, the team has planned a series of specific modifications that will debut in Imola. The first one is a revised rear suspension package, with new anchor points that seek to recover traction stability and improve the sensitivity of the car when applying the power and curve outputs. This modification aims to mitigate the chronic survival that has affected the balance of RB21 under conditions of high degradation, especially visible in the paths of Shanghai and Melbourne. Subtle but significant adjustments have also been made in the rear diffuser, where engineers have modified the profile of the central channel to optimize the soil effect without generating excessive sensitivity to aerodynamic balance. This solution aims to improve curve without compromising the speed in a straight line, a balance that Red Bull has not achieved this year with the same efficacy as in previous seasons. Another area that is receiving immediate attention is the refrigeration of the brakes. The team has recognized that, due to a more closed aerodynamic configuration, brake drums are not managing temperatures well, which generates instability in braking after few laps. In response, Red Bull has introduced a new refrigeration duct design that allows you to maintain temperatures under control without affecting the aerodynamic load of the front axle, a technical detail that could make differences in a track like Imola where the efficiency in braking areas is key. However, the most drastic change is not technical, but strategic. For the first time in years, Red Bull has summoned Max Verstappen to actively participate in car development decisions. The Dutch, who already expressed his frustration in the face of the possibility of fighting for intermediate positions, has been called to an emergency meeting with Helmut Marko and those responsible for the technical department to redirect the evolution of RB21. This marks a turning point in the team's policy, accustomed to keeping their pilots out of conceptual design, and makes it clear that the urgency of results has pushed Red Bull to rethink even their internal structures. In parallel, pilot management has been another crisis front. Liam Lawson, after a catastrophic start, has been replaced by Yuki Tsunoda after only 2 weekends. Although officially talked about as sports decision, the movement reflects the discontent of the team with global performance and the need to have someone who can at least ensure minor points while Verstappen fights at the tip. This drastic decision has caused internal reactions, with contradictory versions between Christian Horner and the Verstappen environment, which reveals a fractured structure that tries to maintain normal facade while dealing with technical and political pressures simultaneously. Red Bull knows that what happens in Imola can mark the rest of the championship. If the improvements work, they can stay in the fight. But if they fail to make that jump, the risk is not only technical, it is structural. Because losing Verstappen in the midst of an internal crisis is a possibility as real as devastating. And that, for Red Bull, would be the beginning of the end. Mercedes faces Imola's appointment with a mentality that reminds of his most glorious years: sobriety, meticulous planning, and a serene trust in well-done work. After 2 years fighting their own shadows, the German team seems to have finally found a path of evolution consistent with the potential that is presupposed to a structure of this size. The W16 has not yet become a dominant car, but the signs are unequivocal. The development curve points up and, most importantly, does so with a more solid technical base than in past seasons. The Mercedes approach has been less radical than that of its competitors. It is not great visual revolutions, but a series of intelligent refinements that are allowing the car to become increasingly competitive in different conditions. One of the key changes that will be introduced into Imola is related to the new specification of the front wing, which has been redesigned not only to gain aerodynamic efficiency, but also to anticipate the regulatory demands of the FIA that will harden the flexibility criteria from the Grand Prix of Spain. This new design reinforces the structural rigidity of the element, which allows Mercedes to explore more aggressive configurations without tenderly taut. Beyond the wing, the team has worked thoroughly in front and rear suspension profiles. The new geometries adopted aim to increase the precision in the lateral support of the car, a point that historically has been critical for the balance of the car in medium-high-speed circuits as Imola. These updates do not only seek to gain time per return, but to improve the consistency of performance in stint largos, an aspect where Mercedes had shown important weaknesses during the first rounds of the championship. One of the most interesting points of the technical package is in the flat fun settings. Although less evident to the naked eye, Mercedes has subtly modified the input and exit channels of the flow under the car, trying to maximize the soil effect without compromising high-speed stability. This exchange rate is especially delicate because it directly affects the sensitivity of the car to the potholes and changes of slope, very common in paths like Imola. The intention of the team is clear: to achieve a car that is not only fast but predictable, even under changing track conditions. The Mercedes engine, meanwhile, remains one of the most reliable and efficient of the grille, but the truly differential in this stage has been the improvement in power delivery maps. The power unit has been stressed to offer a better integration with hybrid systems, optimizing energy recovery and prolonged braking and increasing the efficiency of electrical deployment in curve outputs. This type of electronic work, invisible from the outside but vital on the track, is beginning to bear fruit, especially compared to equipment that still struggles to properly manage their hybrid part in situations of high thermal demand. In the operational, Mercedes has also taken firm steps. Communication between engineers and pilots, especially with George Russell, has reached a new level of fluidity. Marcus Dudley, his career engineer, has managed to translate the pilot's inputs into increasingly precise setup settings, shortening the necessary time to reach the optimal point of performance in each weekend. In the case of Kimi Antonelli, the team has adopted a patient but ambitious development policy. Although he is still a rookie, the Italian has shown a surprising tactical and technical maturity for his age, benefiting from an environment that protects and enhances his talent without overexposing him. Imola represents for Mercedes more than a simple test field. It is the first true thermometer of his aspirations to fight again for victories constantly. If the improvements work as expected, the W16 could go from being a medium-high zone car to a regular contender in the fight for the podium. And beyond the immediate results, there is something even more important. Mercedes looks like a team with a clear direction, a unified technical direction, and a response capacity that had been diluted in previous campaigns. So the question is not who will win in Imola. The question is which team will get out of there with more than a trophy. Who will go out with impulse, with direction, with answers. Because in Formula One, the fastest wins, but the one who knows when and how to change. And that moment for everyone is now. Formula One lives from moments like this. When technical uncertainty is mixed with human emotions, when simulations face the raw reality of the track, and when previous speeches crumble or consolidate in just curves. The closure of this stage in Imola is much more than a weekend outcome. It is the prologue of what will come in the most intense part of the championship. What Ferrari, Red Bull, and Mercedes have brought to Imola are not just new pieces, they are statements of intentions. Each modification in the soil, each adjustment in the suspension, each aerodynamic redesign, has behind thousands of hours of engineering, simulation, and strategic decisions that can completely change the hierarchy of the championship. It is here that we will know who has really understood the demands of this new era of Formula One, and who has been trapped in partial solutions, in promises that do not materialize. But beyond pure performance, what is really decided in Emilia-Romagna is the mood of the great teams. Because a good result at this point in the calendar not only gives points, redefines internal dynamics, strengthening leaderships, deactivates tensions, and opens the door to a second half of the season where ambition grows and pressure too. Similarly, a false step can trigger crises that drag entire projects. In a Formula One as closed as the current one, any small advantage can be decisive. And any error can cost very expensive. The fascinating thing about this moment is that there are no certainties. McLaren comes as the team to beat, but knows that the tide can change in any race. Ferrari clings to his house and his improvements to resurface, while Red Bull struggles not to collapse from within. Mercedes, meanwhile, continues to build a slow but sustained return narrative, where each race represents an opportunity to confirm that the method, patience, and continuous evolution remain valid paths towards success. Therefore, the Imola Grand Prix does not end with the checkered flag. It is just the beginning of a new phase. A phase where technical innovation and human character are intertwined to define who is ready to fight for a championship and who is still caught in reconstruction.